The community of entrepreneurs is a vibrant one. It takes a village.
How do you define the arc of entrepreneurship?
The journey of an entrepreneur is never an easy one to define, and it's certainly not straight up and to the right, as everyone would like to believe it is. The arc of entrepreneurship is a long one, and it takes longer these days to be successful than ever before. And the hardships of markets moving and changing, coming in and out, means that we have to look in different places for the types of support and mentorship and knowledge more than ever before. One of the interesting ways that we do that is by realizing those that have gone ahead of us can share a lot of the same and similar struggles that we are facing in the process as well. And I think for us, the arc of entrepreneurship is realizing that if you're building aspiring to be a great leader in any field, you can do that whether you're at the earliest days of the development of your company or the latest stages of that development too. So Jailan, what do you think are the opportunities to address the dominant challenge for entrepreneurs, especially our entrepreneurs of color and our women entrepreneurs? And then secondly, how is Nasdaq's practice really working to change that situation?
I would say that, there are common misperceptions and conversations around wealth that historically focused on white men. And those disparities really continue when we look at investing, with only 2% of venture capital funding going towards women. And I think more needs to be done to level the playing field for entrepreneurs and investors of all ages, genders, and race. So Nasdaq's purpose is working to create a more inclusive framework that provides that wide range of support for Black, Latinx, Indigenous founders and entrepreneurs, with a strong focus on women, through a series of opportunities like our quarterly grant programs, our partnerships, our events. Part of that really entails working with those organizations to change the perception of who an investor is and encourage more active participation in investing for underrepresented communities, and particularly for women of color. And one of the programs that the foundation has really started investing in this year is something we call the New Investor Initiative. And that is a program that really looks at sort of how, through community engagement, through the power of role models, and with financial education and training, we're working with those partners to change that perception and show how access to resources, information, networks can really help shift the narrative and empower the next generation of investors and entrepreneurs. In your own words, what is the mission of the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center?
The Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center is building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide. And we do that by prioritizing access, inclusion, and knowledge in the field of all entrepreneurs. That means in the last few years, it's taken on a whole new set of challenges because our entrepreneurs have undertaken more issues, more challenges than ever before. But our commitment is to make sure that wherever you are in this world, you have more support in the face of all that you're doing to improve our communities and improve the lives of all of us. So as we both work to advance real economic progress for all, especially through the work that you're leading, what do you think it's actually going to take, Jailan, to equalize entrepreneurship?
In a recent study, the Nasdaq Foundation found that a lack of resources to invest, an unmet appetite for basic knowledge to understand what investing actually is, the wrong kinds of products and processes that really don't facilitate investment, and going back to those perceptions of investor identity, those are all barriers to opening up capital markets access for women of color. So I think improvements in these areas will help equalize entrepreneurship. What are those characteristics that all entrepreneurs have?
There are so many characteristics that our entrepreneurs have in common, no matter the industry, no matter the stage, no matter the geography. I think an interesting place to start is how the World Economic Forum has often classified entrepreneurs. They have these PACE attributes. They are problem solvers who are adaptable, creative, entrepreneurial thinkers. And when we boil that down, what it often means is that they lean in when others lean out. And I think if we consider the last few years and the challenges that it's brought forward, the inequities around healthcare, vibrancy of access to social support systems, education, I could list the on and ons. The reality is we need more of our entrepreneurs to be able to lean in. Even if they don't have all the answers around them, what entrepreneurs do, despite all the challenges and all the reasons to lean out, is give it their best. And they find others who are willing to lean into them and say, how can I help? What more can I do? It is those characteristics, that credibility of the founder's dream, that we need more than ever before. And I think if we look ahead at the world to come, we realize that with entrepreneurs leaning in and building better communities where all rise.
What is the Entrepreneurial Center doing to change society's definitions and perception of an entrepreneur so that it does look more like the society around us? And why is it so important to change that?
I'm going to start with the second part of that question first. When we consider the problems that we're all facing, it is those with the lived experience who are far more likely to solve those problems. It's obviously a little counterintuitive to believe that anyone else could. And yet the challenge in entrepreneurship historically has been for the few and the privileged. And it's actually a scenario where pattern matching goes against the very ethos of who we need to be able to find solutions from in these most challenging times. So the perspective of what an entrepreneur looks like is varied and far-reaching, and it includes people who have historically not identified themselves even as entrepreneurs. It's not lost on us when we first opened our doors now more than 8 years ago that many that walked in here looked up with a halo effect at the word entrepreneur and said, I hope one day I can be that. And as we started learning from them and listening to them, they personified the very definition of an entrepreneur, yet they'd never felt that word, that identity was in front of them because nobody had ever invited them into that conversation. And so for us, when we think about what entrepreneurship looks like, it's far, it's wide, it's varied. It is those with the lived experience who see the issues right in front of them and are the perfect ones that can solve them.